3 years ago, Dr. David Kimbro and Dr. Randall Hughes decided to let our cameras follow them around to bring their studies to a broader audience. Now, we're highlighting other researchers who bring their science to the public. How does a soccer ball relate to science? Dr. Harold Kroto is a professor of chemistry at FSU. Among his many accomplishments is a Nobel Prize for his discovery of a unique form of carbon, known as the Bucky-Ball.
C60 Buckminsterfullerene, the celestial sphere that fell to Earth. I want to tell you about it because, of course, it ended up with the Nobel Prize, but in fact, this is the prize itself. And it goes back. The modern world has been created by science and technologists, engineers, and I think it's incredibly important that the next generation understand a lot more about how it works. I feel that one of the things that I can do, I can speak to a lot of young people and they listen, at least for some time until they hear what I have to say, but also to say that, you know, they should really think about the technology. And of course they're very difficult technologies, but someone has to know how it works. The red giant puts material back into space. In fact, the red giants produce carbon in your body. Everyone in this room, your carbon, nitrogen and oxygen atoms were created in a red giant. Fortunately for you, it spewed out 2% of its stuff and your carbon atoms were spewed out into space. And you're lucky to be here because most of the carbon is still out in space. Most of the people who could be here, probably the empty seats, are still out in space. And in fact, there are quite a large number of people, mainly politicians, who should go back out into space as well.
His efforts to communicate his work to the public played a role in Dr. Kroto's decision to come to FSU.
Particularly, they wanted me to develop the outreach educational program. President Barron has been very supportive of that too here. I'm heavily involved in GEOSET, Global Educational Outreach for Science, Engineering and Technology, which we're doing from here, and we're getting students, undergraduates, graduate students, postdocs, teachers, recording short presentations on the things that they are passionate about. Basically creating a cache of material for them, for others to see. I just couldn't have gone any better place. It's been a great decision. If you make an observation, develop a hypothesis to explain.
Many of his outreach programs have been focused on children.
I teach them things about algebra. I teach 6-year-olds algebra in 2 or 3 minutes, and I get them to think about those sorts of things.
The Buckyball Workshops. This is where the soccer ball comes into play.
The second part is a hands-on section where they actually build a buckyball, and that's sensational. They just love that, and that's really in some ways the major part.
Dr. Kroto uses the shapes on the face of the ball to teach children about pentagons and hexagons. The final pattern of the Buckyball model is identical to that of a soccer ball.
People don't understand what science is. They just think it's this useful thing that produces technology and applications, but in fact it's much deeper than that. It requires evidence for what one accepts as being true. That's, for me, the most important aspect.
Another important aspect is perseverance.
I go in the ring with the science, with Muhammad Ali, every day of the week, and he knocks me out in the first round, and Friday I get to the second round, he knocks me out in the second round. Once a month I get to the third or fourth round, once a year I get to the 5th round, and occasionally 1 or 2 of us get to the 15th round and we get the Nobel Prize, and that's what science is. We didn't create it. It's not the way we would necessarily like it to be. It is the way it is, and that's enough for me.
In the Grass on the Reef is funded by the National Science Foundation.